So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So today I just want to talk about something I've talked about before, and it's basically a reoccurring topic of this game, which is the fact that the gap between spenders and non-spenders are getting bigger than ever. And well, that's not the only factors, of course. We have non-spenders who grind a lot. They might be in a better position than some who spend and don't really grind. And of course, the ultimate combo of both spending and playing a lot, which basically is me and quite a few others. So back when I started OPTC, spending was basically not a big deal. Sure, you got an advantage, but basically you got to play around with the new unit or legend for a few weeks before others could get them. So it really wasn't a big deal. You got a small advantage by paying, but others could catch up pretty fast. With some exceptions, we had some limited Sugos back in the day as well. Most notably, we had the treasure map re-recruits that basically never reran, so getting those could give you a small advantage, but other than that, it was a pretty equal playing field in many ways. But yeah, in the last few years this has changed completely, and most things I'm going to talk about today I do think are great additions, but if you view them in this lens, then yeah, they can get a bit problematic. And none of these should not really be in use, but when you put them all together, you will see that, yeah, this can be problematic. Okay, let's start with the first one that can differentiate between players. And that's going to be the CC. As you see, I have my attack island maxed out. This means all of my units can get plus 200 attack cotton candy. And yeah, that's an extra like 400 attack over those who don't have any CC at all. So this is partly investing in the island, but it's also putting in the effort of getting cotton candy. And as you might know, I've been grinding quite a bit of cotton candy. So most of my units do have cotton candy, like if we sort by limit break, I think we can do. Where is it? It's been a while since I used this sorting. I feel blind right now. Is it training points? No. I feel so confused. I'm sure we had a limit break sort. I'm probably just... There it is. Okay. Jeez. But yeah, by doing this, we can get the free-to-play treasure map together and rare recruits. So we can take the rare recruits here. And as you see, most of my rare recruits also have CC invested. Like, my rule of thumb is nowadays that when I pull a new unit, I just give them max CC right away. And like if we have a unit I haven't really used, if we scroll down, I'll probably find one. Okay, we have a few here like this Sanji and Kobe, Ben Beckman stuff. Like if I ever put them on a team and actually use them, sure, I'll invest the CC, but I'm not just going to go through my box and CC everything. Even if I could do that quite a bit, but I don't really feel like farming for CC, so to say. But as you see, I'm pretty decent. I've actually depleted quite a bit of attack CC, so might have to start farming a bit again soon, which is not a prospect I look forward to, if I'm going to be real. But yeah, CC in general, big differentiator, and here spending is a big part of getting ahead with CC. But of course, to CC everything, you also need to put in the time. And it's not just time, it's also gems or meat in order to refill stamina to continue farming CC. So yeah, CC's one is probably the smallest factor. The next factor is probably the biggest, which is going to be the addition of limit break expansion. Well, I've already sorted by limit break, so we can start from there. And yeah, as you see here with my legends, like we have a lot of duo units who have got a 6+, and a lot of the level limit break stuff, they do get different abilities at higher level. I prepared this screen a bit to talk about level limit break. Luffy Ace is a pretty good starting point since they come up a lot. I've used them in a lot of accessible teams, and since I've always had them at level 5, I've only really thought about their special here, which can give an attack boost or an ore boost. But if the Luffy Ace is not at level 150, they can only give an ore boost. This is one of those things that me as a team builder has to be aware of, but it's very easy to overlook when you've never used a non-level 150 Luffy Ace in this example. And yeah, it's of course not only the extra abilities like buffed special, buffed captain, it's also just the extra stats. And yeah, you can get a lot of units above 3000 attack quite easily by investing in level limit break, but of course it's not free to do that. It requires an insane amount of experience materials. And as you see, I've been a bit lazy lately with farming them, so I'm getting very low on turtles in general. So I have to farm them again. This is another example of, it's not just about spending money to pull dupes, for example. It's also about putting in the time and the effort to actually grind for the materials, which is becoming increasingly relevant in the game. And then as a team builder, I also have to keep a lot of things in mind, like we have stuff like this Zoro, who everybody can get to level 150 very easily. We literally having permanently available in the event islands. If you go to power up, and it's this one, and yeah, I think this is the one. Yeah, here you can farm copies for Zoro, Sunny, Robin, Brook. A surprisingly amount of people don't know this, and they try and buy them from Pirate King Adventures, but you should not do that. That's an incredible waste of tickets. So you should never buy Zoro, Sanji, Robin, or Brook here. You should buy Luffy, Nami, Usopp, Chopper, Frankie, and Jinbei. And the order of priority here is definitely Zoro, Robin, Nami, Usopp, Frankie, Jinbei, Chopper. Something like that. It also depends on what you need. But those are the main priorities in the ticket exchange. And it can be game changers, like I put Usopp on a few teams, and I'm also always I try to be very clear, and I either say or state that Usopp has to be level 150 because you need this buffed special. Because with this, you can both remove 5 turns of special bind and get a chain boost. Without it level 5, he only removes like 2 turns of special bind and nothing else, so he's basically worthless then. But at the same time, he is pretty accessible since everybody can get him to level 150 by just playing Pirate King Adventures, like you should do anyway. But then we have other accessible stuff like Big Mom, for example, who got an incredible level limit break buff now. Before, she gave a full board of G-Orbs, but now she gives a full board of Semla, so that's like night and day. But of course, in able to get that, you need to buy dupes from the treasure map shop. And that means you have to farm treasure map a lot. And there's other stuff you have to buy from treasure map too, like limit break materials. So suddenly, yeah, accessible on paper, but you need to put in the effort. So if you're not a spender and you're a casual player, yeah, maybe if I put Big Mom on a team, you can't really copy it feasibly. So basically, as a team builder, I have to keep a lot of things in mind. Like, I both want to make the best team possible, and I also want to make the most accessible team possible. And sometimes you can make a very good team that is accessible, but it's not super accessible. It might have the Usopp or Big Mom or something else. So there's so many things to consider when making teams. And I also want to make teams for other people like me who have great boxes and a lot of stuff maxed, and they just want the best team. So you might see that this is really threading a tightrope, trying to not fall down, trying to keep everybody pleased. And it's got both good and bad, because like when we get a new content and people want teams, basically my the way I do things nowadays is I start with the accessible stuff and then I try and get to the optimized stuff maybe a day or two later. For stuff like Parking Adventures, Kizuna Treasure Map, that's usually what I do. But of course we also have like the high-end damage stuff like Nami, other Super Tandem, Final Tap, Rush, stuff like that. We're having them maxed or not is a big deal. Nami in particular, like if you have her maxed, she's a really great captain to have in some situations, and often you can't mirror it, like putting Nami as friend and something else as your own captain. With Nami in particular, often you just need her as captain, and if you don't have her level 5 or level 4, you just can't use that team. So yeah, a lot of things to consider, and there's really a big gap in how good your box can be. And then we of course have the farming aspect. I said, like we've talked about a lot of things we have to farm. We have to farm we talk with the CC, we have to farm CC, which you can't farm together with other things. You have to farm just CC. Then we have the turtles, which you have to farm in like the Turtle Islands. We're going to talk about ships in a bit, and ships you can also farm for berry. You can farm in Turtle Islands as well, but for berry you have to farm in the Berry Islands. So as you see, there's a lot of farm you have to do, not to mention the everyday farm of farming Parking Adventures, Treasure Map, Kizuna, and in particular farming Treasure Map a lot is heavily rewarded, and the other modes not as heavily rewarded. But yeah, I already mentioned ships, but ship really adds a further layer to the gap between players now, because spenders really get an advantage here. Like if you take a look at me in the bazaar, you see I have a lot of training points, and I try not to spend a lot of training points now, because now training points is my main source of cola. For many people it won't be. The main source of cola will be from Parking Adventures, Kizuna, stuff like that. It will be from farming the Usopp turtle farm, selling Usopp dupes, buying rain points that way, which is of course a lot slower, takes a lot more time. So the reality is that, sure, every time I get 20 super cola, I know I can max a ship. That's how I maxed 4 ships so far, and I will soon be able to max a 5th. But for other people, just maxing 1 ship is an incredible effort, both for the cola you need and the berry. And as you see with me, my berry, I have to add berry farm to my already big list of things I need to farm. And I've been pretty lazy with farming lately, so this is going to bite me very soon. So I have really to get moving, because I have to farm turtles. Otherwise, I won't be able to level 150 stuff I want. I have to farm the Berry Island. Otherwise, I can't level 150 the ships I want. And this also has the incredible RNG layer of ships, you're just not getting the RNG you need. A lot of people have said it, it's me myself too, like the ship RNG is way too dumb. Like the variance is like you can finish it in like 5k cola or 100,000 cola. Like people have literally spent 100,000 cola without getting an upgrade, and that would be a big problem for me myself. It basically means that you want to farm enough berry so that you can afford to go to 100k, which is a very big ask. And then if you happen to go to 100k, you need to farm up that berry again, so you're ready for next time. And that's just when you don't have to care about cola. Most people have to care about cola too. I can just ignore cola. Cola is free for me, but not for most people. So yeah, ships becomes another big gap where I have to think very hard about what ship I use in teams. Like, many can see Mary as like a standard ship, but I haven't done it, so I can't use it anyway. And even if I did it, I know a lot of people did dinghy instead. A lot of people will have done hoe instead. Some people will have done maybe the sun instead. Maybe they are like me and did the Revo ship during that Kisuna when we got the ships for the first time. Like, there are a lot of things, so basically I just try and ignore all of that, which is why I mostly default to the whale sharks, which is the like a good stuff ship in general that is not bad to buy anyway, since we know it will get a good ship upgrade in the future. But I have a big future issue in that eventually I will have upgraded most ships, and there is no option to use a non-upgraded ship. And yeah, there's just nothing I can do then. Like, do I use like the few ships I have left, like some anniversary ship like this one? Like, this is actually pretty decent, but it's kind of not optimal to use ships like that in the future when I have everything else upgraded. And it's not just ships, it's units as well. Like, sometimes I think about, I shall try and keep extra dupes so I can have a low investment version. Like, Luffy Ace is maxed, I keep a dupe that I invest in, but this adds more farm to me, more investments to spend. I just can't justify doing that. But then I thought about maybe doing a second account and make some very beginner friendly stuff there. But that is also a lot of effort. I basically had to play Treasure Map twice. When it's live, I have to play Kisuna twice, Pirate King Adventures twice, just to keep up and get everything, not to mention reform everything. So I'm also not really keen on doing that. So basically, I just have to try and live with this, and I'm sure this is something a lot of content creators have to deal with. And then personally, of course, we have already have the balance between making content and farming. Both are important for me. Lately, my focus have very much been content, which you can see when you see my resources in general. So what I need to do, and what I've done a lot in the past, but not for a few months now, is just do a ton of content in advance that I schedule. And then when I've done that, I know I have a lot of free time to grind instead. So that's going to be something I try and get going with once this final Super Sugo Fest is done. But yeah, that's like 20 minutes talking about this, but this is something I think a lot about. And in a few years, like, I don't imagine the gap, like imagine someone starting the game, and then we have me with like every ship max, everything level 150 plus 600 cc. Maybe they've even increased cc by then. We can get to plus 900 cc, or they maybe expanded the level limit break further, so I can have like 5,000 attack legends. Like, who knows? Like, yeah, like, how do you even make teams for other people, or how do I make accessible teams then? Like, yeah, that's just something I try and keep in mind. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.